June 22nd, 1941. Germany launched the largest invasion in history, sending over 3 million men into the Soviet Union. But the question remains, was Joseph Stalin truly experiencing a nervous breakdown when it happened? Let's go back a little. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of 1939 had divided Eastern Europe between Hitler and Stalin. For nearly 2 years, Germany and the Soviet Union appeared to be partners, trading raw materials and signing agreements. Stalin believed that this uneasy partnership would buy him time. He was convinced Hitler would not strike until Britain was defeated, or at least until 1942. But reports kept coming in. Ivan Proskurov, head of Soviet military intelligence, the GRU, in 1939 and 1940, bluntly warned that Germany was preparing for war. He argued that Soviet defenses were weak and that the Red Army was unprepared. Stalin disliked his candor. By July 1940, Proskurov was dismissed, later arrested and executed. His replacement, Philipp Golikov, had a very different style. Golikov often softened or filtered intelligence before presenting it to Stalin, perhaps fearing Stalin's temper or simply telling him what he wanted to hear. As a result, many credible reports were watered down. Meanwhile, other warnings arrived. Pavel Fitin, chief of NKVD Foreign Intelligence, sent urgent dispatches throughout spring 1941. He repeatedly reported that German troops were massing along the border and that an invasion was imminent. And then there was Richard Sorge, the famous Soviet spy in Tokyo. Sorge sent Moscow a stunning message. Germany would attack the Soviet Union in June 1941. He even gave a rough date. His intelligence was accurate, but in Moscow, it was treated with skepticism. Nor were these the only warnings. Britain and the United States also sent alerts. Churchill personally warned Stalin, passing along decrypted German signals. Stalin dismissed them all, suspecting that London was trying to drag him into war prematurely. So why did Stalin ignore so many warnings? Historians suggest two main reasons. First, his deep mistrust of everyone around him, even his own intelligence chiefs. After the purges of the late 1930s, many officers feared to contradict him. Second, Stalin's own strategic belief that Hitler would never risk a two-front war before defeating Britain. Now to the morning of June 22, 1941. German planes bombed Soviet cities, and millions of Wehrmacht soldiers surged across the frontier. How did Stalin react? Memoirs differ. Nikita Khrushchev and Anastas Mikoyan later claimed Stalin was overcome by what they described as a nervous breakdown, retreating to his dacha, withdrawn and disoriented, muttering that the pact had been broken. Some even suggested he feared being overthrown. But the Kremlin's official visitor logs tell a more complex story. Stalin met with Molotov, Zhukov, and other officials on the very first day, coordinating emergency defenses. Modern historians like David Murphy and Stephen Kotkin argue that while Stalin showed signs of acute distress, he was not incapacitated once the invasion began. He was shaken. Some contemporaries used the phrase nervous breakdown, but he remained in Moscow, chairing meetings and issuing directives. So, was Stalin having a nervous breakdown? Yes, in the sense that many contemporaries perceived him as emotionally overwhelmed and disoriented by the scale and speed of the assault. But not in the sense that he permanently abandoned command. He had been warned by men like Proskurov, Fitin, and Sorge, but his disbelief and strategic assumptions blinded him to the danger. When the invasion finally came, the psychological impact was intense. Some witnesses described behavior consistent with a sudden, severe stress reaction, what they called a nervous breakdown. Yet he quickly returned to directing the war. In the end, Stalin's failure was not simple ignorance. It was disbelief. His miscalculation and the filtering of intelligence cost the Soviet Union dearly in the opening months of Operation Barbarossa. The evidence shows a leader who experienced a profound, short-lived emotional collapse, but who rapidly transformed that crisis into ruthless wartime leadership.